Good morning, everyone, and it's a very good morning this morning. It's Liam Neild here with your MU review for Manchester United's 1-0 victory at Anfield over Liverpool. Get in, come on. I was fully expecting to have my day ruined this morning. Going into this game, we've not been in great form. To be honest, based on the performance that we put out on the pitch today, I was probably justified in thinking that Liverpool, I thought, would probably, score goals, exploit our defence that seems to have weakened a little bit, but I've never been so happy to be wrong in my entire life. Complete smash and grab. We were not at our best at all today, but ultimately that's what being a Premier League, heavy hitter is all about, is being able to pick up points in the games that matter, even when you're not on top form, and that's exactly what we did today. The first half was absolutely dreadful. I mean, Liverpool probably should have scored once or twice. They weren't clinical at all today. I don't know really what's going on. They're definitely a team that's more in transition than we are. But this is now 4 Premier League games in a row that we have beaten Liverpool in, and that just feels good. That just feels really, really good. We did the double over them last season, and we did the double over them this season. So they've come down a bit from a few years ago when they beat us 3-0 at Old Trafford and 1-0 at Anfield and almost won the Premier League. They've come down a fair bit since then, and we're still steady. We've come up since then, and we're not exactly where we need to be, but as long as we're beating Liverpool, we're getting there. I thought that the first half performance just kind of typified us this season. The passing was poor. There was no real forward momentum. There was no inspiration, no cutting edge going forward, and that was something that really kind of bugged me as I was watching the game. I think by the grace of some decent defending and some good goalkeeping, we sort of stayed in the game. Not to mention the fact that Liverpool, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn door at the moment. But we really improved a lot in the second half. I mean, it wasn't, night and day. We still weren't brilliant, but we started, connecting passes a bit. I think Liverpool tired because obviously Jurgen Klopp's style is very aggressive, very high energy, and I don't know if their players really have the stamina to keep it up for 90 minutes. That's certainly what I observed. They came out firing at the start of the second half and then sort of petered out, whereas we sort of stayed steady throughout the game, and we definitely improved as the game went on. We had some good individual performances. I don't think anyone really played badly per se. I mean, obviously Ashley Young's injury was a bit of a blow, and you can't really blame him for that. I thought Darmian was probably our weakest player on the pitch because, especially when he was playing at left back, he looked a bit lost for positioning sense at least in that first half and a bit in the second half. But once he was moved to right back, which is obviously his natural side, he was much better. But yeah, he sort of got pulled in a couple of times, and if we were playing maybe a better team, one that was more clinical than Liverpool are at the moment, then we might have been punished for that. On a more regularly than we were, which in fact we weren't punished at all for it, which was a godsend for us. But in terms of individual performances, I was very surprised by how well Maro and Fellaini played. I mean, anyone who watches these videos knows that I'm not Fellaini's biggest fan, especially the fact that he seems to play 90 minutes every week when we've got players like Ander Herrera or Juan Mata in this case, or Memphis Depay sitting on the bench, and you just sort of think, why? I didn't understand it, but to be fair to him, he played well today. He put himself about. He was actually decent on the ball. His technical ability wasn't completely shambolic as it usually is. And so I was pretty happy with that, and obviously I gave him a huge credit for the goal, for getting up there, with 4 Liverpool players around him. If he wasn't in the box there, one, we're probably not winning that header, and two, Wayne Rooney's probably not getting the space from, the 4 players swarming around Fellaini, who still wins the header, puts it on the bar, and then Rooney smashes it in when he's got, 3 yards of space on all sides. But, speaking of Wayne Rooney, that's 5 and 4 in all competitions. He really seems to have lit a fire under himself in 2016, and, I'm not ready to say, oh, Wayne Rooney's back, because ultimately I don't think Wayne Rooney will ever be back. He's not going to be the player he once was. He's just a bit too old. He's a bit past it, but it doesn't mean that he can't still put a shift in and come through with a massive goal, and he really did that today. I mean, I remember almost over 10 years ago now, Wayne Rooney, a very young Wayne Rooney, scored an absolutely blinding goal to win a game 1-0 at Anfield when he was probably about 20, 21, and he looked like he enjoyed this one every bit as much as he enjoyed that one. He loves scoring against Liverpool, and I love it when any United player scores against Liverpool, but I especially love it when Wayne Rooney does it, just because he's a Scouser, and it's that extra bit of, that venom that he puts into it. But yeah, Wayne Rooney has really started the year well. He's, like I said, scored 5 and 4. This is now, I think, that's 3 and 2 Premier League games, or 4 and 3, I think it is now. So he really seems to have, gotten his act together. And considering the fact that, yes, he's not going to be a 30 goal a season striker anymore, but if he's getting 10, 15 at his age and creating some and getting a few assists, that is a United captain, who's getting on a bit. As far as I'm concerned, that is the kind of leader we needed. We needed someone to put the ball in the back of the net today, even when we weren't playing well, and that's exactly what he did. So I'm extremely happy with him. I was surprised by how decent Fellaini was. I thought Daley Blind had a good game. Jesse Lingard was a bit ineffectual, so was Ander Herrera. That's why they came off. But I really think those substitutions, even though they weren't directly involved, Mata got the cross in for Fellaini's header, which ultimately resulted in the goal. And then you look at, a player like Memphis Depay, whose energy at the end of the game really did help us see the game out. So having those kinds of options off the bench is good, especially when players like Lingard and Herrera, who, to be fair to them, played very well against Newcastle. Even if they're not at it, we've got players who can come off the bench because our injury crisis is starting to, ease off a little bit. Defensive-wise, not quite so much. We're still without Shaw, Rojo, Valencia, and now it looks like we're going to be out without Ashley Young as well. But, going forward, we've got lots of options, and that really has helped. Moving on, we're playing Southampton next week. And Southampton are looking decent. They finally look like they've gotten their act together as far as, getting some consistency. So hopefully we can puncture that. They beat us last season at Old Trafford, so I would very much like us to complete the double over Southampton this year. As far as Anthony Martial, who was a focal point throughout the game, I think that this game really, more than any other game this season, typifies how much of a diamond in the rough he is. He has got bags of ability and talent, and he is going to be fantastic, but he's still 20 years old, and that did show a bit in this game. He was a bit selfish. There was one moment specifically towards the end of the game when we were 1-0 up, where Mata tried to play a 1-2 with him, played a good ball, and then I could see it, clear as day on my television. There was a huge, gap that Mata run into, and all Martial had to do was slip it back through to him, and we might have had a second there, but Martial instead tries to take on, the entire Liverpool team and their mum, instead of, playing the easy pass. So I think those kinds of things, yes, he does have the raw talent of someone who can, go on and be the best player in the world, in the next, 5-10 years. But he needs to refine it, and I think having, players like Wayne Rooney around him, who has been, a top-class striker for the last decade or so, will really help him, in terms of making better decisions intelligence-wise. But, don't take anything away from the kid. He was still probably our most dangerous, definitely our most dangerous player going forward. He had a couple of runs where he got in, and, he looks like he's going to beat his man no matter who it is every single time he gets it, and it's just the amount of confidence that takes from a player who, is younger than I am, to put it into perspective, he's a month or two younger than I am. It's just absolutely incredible, and I just hope, that he stays fit and that he just keeps getting better and better, because he will become, a Manchester United legend if he keeps going at the rate he's going this season. I said at the start of the year when I was talking with Matt about Martial when he first got signed, I said, first season I'd be very, very happy if he got, 5 or 10 goals in all competitions. He's already got that. He's already got 5 in the Premier League. I think he's got, 1 in the Capital One Cup. The Cup. I think he's got 1 or 2 in the Champions League as well. This kid has got, a lot of ability. And him and Memphis Depay really are looking like, and Jesse Lingard to a certain extent as well, really are looking like the future of this club. But anyway, my man of the match goes to David De Gea, Spanish Dave once again. Thank God. Let's just go back to the Real Madrid transfer ban. Thank God that that's happened, because that means that, at least from my perspective, I don't see David De Gea moving to Real Madrid if they can't even register players until the summer after this one coming up. So that means we're at least getting another season out of him, and he typified today again how inexpendable he is to Manchester United's cause. If he'd gone in the summer, I don't know where we'd be, because Sergio Romero is not good enough to be a first-team Manchester United keeper. He made a couple of fantastic saves today, and he gives our defence so much confidence. And it's no mystery that our defence is not fantastic. On paper, Smalling is probably our only really world-class, well, not world-class, I think I'm exaggerating there, the only one in there who I would put in Manchester United's, back four in the next, 2 or 3 years. If we can, get Shaw back from fitness, him and Smalling, we need to go and buy another centre-back. And then if Matteo Darmian hopefully will work out and, get a bit better, that could be a solid back four. And having De Gea there just to really, solidify that, back five unit. That was when last time we were, the best team in the world, when we, late 2000s, when we won the Champions League, made it to 3 finals in 4 years. That was entirely based upon, yes, we had some great attacking talent, but that was entirely based on the solidity that existed between Van der Sar, Ferdinand and Vidic especially, not to mention, you go out wide to Patrice Evra on one side, and I'm blanking at the moment. Gary Neville was, a right back at the time, but I don't think he was really, starting every week, but we sort of rotated that position. But that back three especially really just provided the solidity we needed to release the talents that we had at that point, which were, Ronaldo, Tevez, Rooney in his, in his pomp, whatever, in his pomp. So we were good back then, and I think that we've got the players to build that kind of team again. You know, we just need. I think Chris Smalling can be the next Rio Ferdinand. In fact, I mean, I'm not going to say he's better than Ferdinand because Ferdinand was world class, but he's got that physical aspect, and he can bring the ball out of defence just like Ferdinand did. And I mean, give him the number 5 shirt if Rojo ever leaves. You know, that sort of thing. You know, he could be the next Rio Ferdinand. Go get John Stones, Raphael Varane, Aymeric Laporte, another young, promising, bags of potential centre back to play alongside him. They will establish a real connection. Because I mean, sorry, Phil Jones, you were in the crowd today because you get injured so often. I don't think he's gonna, last. He can play, he can stay, and be a squad player, but he's not. I don't think he's ever gonna be, the world class player that we once hoped he would be. So yeah, I'm rambling a bit at this point, but I'm buzzing. I really am. I'm so buzzing. I'm so happy that we've won that game, especially after watching it. Where, to be perfectly honest, we did not look like we were gonna win that game. We looked like we were gonna lose it for most of it. So I'm extremely happy today, and I'm gonna kick back and enjoy the rest of my MLK Day weekend. The snow is falling here in Boone, and I'm a very happy Manchester United fan. If you've got any questions, or comments, or something you want to talk to me about, throw it in the comments underneath this video, or you can follow me on Twitter and tweet at me there. It's Liam M. Neild. I'll put that in the description somewhere. So yeah, thanks for watching if you did, and I'll see you next weekend when we play Southampton.